before somebody is going to inevitably make a decision to have that consult, they want you to give them a reason as to why they should sign up to be able to do that. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Video Marketers Vault podcast. For those out there who do not know who I am, my name is Evan Andrews, and today I have another special guest with me, Mr. Graham Duval of Valued Productions. Graham and I go actually way back. We've known each other for several years now. He's up in the Maine area of the United States. Graham, great to have you on today.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Super excited to be here. This is exciting.
Yes, sir. Is it getting warmer up in your side of the country yet?
A little bit. It was nice this past weekend, but we're actually getting snow today, which I'm not really happy about.
Love it. Well, for those that don't know, I'm here in Texas, and I am not a cold-natured person. So anybody that lives up in the Northeast and anywhere where it snows, my props to you because I cannot handle it. But today we got a pretty special episode, dude, because this is something that I know you and I both have done our fair share of before, and still, I think, see a lot of lack in many markets today in utilizing this particular kind of tool. But today, what we're going to be talking about is building a marketing funnel for your business, and not just any marketing funnel, but really infusing and utilizing video inside of that marketing funnel. Right. So if you guys are out there watching and you're new here, this is going to be our second episode. But if you're new here, make sure that you go subscribe so you can stay up to date with everything that we're doing over here at the Video Marketers Vault. And let's just jump right into it, Graham. So, funnels was something that up until the coaching program that you and I were both students of at the same time, I really didn't know really what it was. And it's sad to say that was like 2021 or so when we were over there. And I'll be the first to say that, I didn't really understand what a marketing funnel, really was at the time. I knew after kind of being shown what it was that I had been inside of them before, I had seen them before, but I really didn't understand like the purpose of them, how they worked, how they kind of operated, and what the difference was between that and like just kind of sending somebody to your website, right? But what I discovered over the time in figuring out what marketing funnels were is that I found that the ones that really heavily utilized video were a lot more impactful and empowering for me specifically. Maybe that's just because I'm not really like a reader, so I don't like to like read these long drawn out, sales pages and things like that. But the main reason being is, the heightened sense of engagement that watching videos kind of gave me personally. What's your take on that?
Yeah, 100%. I also had no idea what a marketing funnel was like until it was shown to me as well. And then realizing that like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Like it makes sense to take someone through that process. And I'm the same way as you. 100% agree. Video is a necessity piece to this whole process of using a funnel. And like, I think people tend to get like, I don't want to say scared, but kind of like turned off a little bit just by that term funnel of like, you know what I mean? So it's almost like, how can we like soften that a little bit? And it's more of like that customer journey and using video to be more engaged, to take them through that.
No,
yes,
100%.
it is a funnel, but like,
right. But it's like putting them in a place where they don't even realize what's happening to them.
Right.
Like when you can do that, that your funnel is primed and it's working the way that it should.
Exactly.
And by putting video and I have a little statistic here, but like by incorporating video on our landing pages within our funnels, it's been said in over a study that it increases the likelihood of the conversion that we actually want to happen by
Mm-hmm.
at least 80% than having just some long drawn out, sales page
Yeah.
that's got a bunch of text on it. Right. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, well, video, I mean, the brain can't really tell the difference between interacting with someone in person or
Mm,
interacting with someone through a screen. So,
sure.
like, you have that ability to almost like be right there, pre selling or giving more information or selling even right there through your content. I mean, Google did a study recently too where they have the whole seven. They said that in order for someone to buy from a brand, they need to experience 7 hours of content over 11 touch points over 4
Wow.
platforms. And so,
Wow.
like, not that we're going to go do all that, but by
Sure.
incorporating video into that process, you're making that step forward into that those numbers.
Yeah. What's your thought on like quality of lead using
Mm.
video versus not using video?
Yeah, I think it qualifies them so much more. So you're going to get a much higher quality lead and prospect with someone who's interacting with your content because it, they're just more bought in. You know what I mean? Like
True.
they're willing to take that time to sit and watch a video. Video it triggers that emotional side of things. I don't know, me personally, when I'm reading a big long sales page, I don't get that same emotional trigger of like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like it's almost like, okay, yeah, I want to know the information on this because it does seem like a cool product, but I'm just like, this is great, whatever. But if you're watching a video, it actually triggers that thing where it's like, oh, I definitely need this, or like
Yeah.
this looks really cool. Like we need to,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
for me without like video or something interactive like that on the pages, like I really like second guess my
Mm,
decision on like, do I really need this?
mm-hmm.
Right? So
Right.
I think it cuts down the lack of possibility of conversion by not having video there.
Right.
Um,
Definitely.
I wrote down a few, different types of funnels for those out there who, may be business owners that really don't understand,
Yeah.
exactly what a funnel should look like or can
Mm-hmm.
do.
Mm-hmm.
Because you and I both know a lot of, service businesses in general,
Mm-hmm.
mostly today, they rely on their website
Mm-hmm.
to be able to generate leads for them. But the three that I kind of wrote down here were one overall just kind of like a lead magnet funnel, right? So
Yep.
having some sort of asset or value prop, as I like to call it,
Mm-hmm.
right, that we can give somebody in exchange for something as simple as like their contact information, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of a great place to start for just about any business, I would think. Because we all have our own bits of knowledge, we have our own bits of expertise, we have our own assets and tools and things that we can use to be able to you know really get somebody to, I guess, trust that we know what
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's some kind of lead magnet funnels that maybe you've ran before?
Yeah. Lead magnet funnels are so important. It's so key for building that trust. Um, yeah, it's almost like taking when you think of like a sawmill or something, you know what I mean? They've got all that sawdust that just like goes out, and yeah, they're probably selling that sawdust, but what can I take out of the things that I do that's maybe the sawdust of some of the stuff that I do and use that to entice someone to come in? And so yeah, I mean, I've run different ones of like, some of the different trainings that I've done, or like just pieces of information that it highlights the value that you can bring, where they're like, oh wow, if he's giving me this thing for free, what is
Yeah.
he going to do when I actually give him money? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've ran simple things, even, we're talking about video, but I've even ran simple things such as like simple PDF guides
Mm-hmm.
that then
Mm-hmm.
are like the first step into, something, and then me showing them a video or something like that.
Yeah.
And one of my most profitable lead magnets was just literally like a 10-page PDF.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's
Yeah.
just astounding that, people think that, you have to provide some kind of value like a consult or some kind of
Right.
something like that, when you really don't, because before somebody is going to inevitably make a decision to have that consult, they want you to give them a reason as to why they should sign up to be able to do that.
Can I ask you a question real quick? Did
Yeah.
you use a video prior to them getting that PDF?
I mean, if you want to consider the ads, the
Yep.
piece of that, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, if you consider the ads as a video that somebody watched to get that PDF, yeah, for sure. I mean, even I've had ads that aren't videos that still get people that PDF
Sure.
that still convert very well.
100%.
But yeah, using a video ad to be able to provide the context as to why is something as simple as the PDF
Exactly.
would kind of get them to think a little bit differently, right?
Totally. Yeah.
That was my my process behind that, and they still work wholeheartedly. I mean, I think a lot of people get caught up in like video and content and things like this, or it's this big giant process, and they don't want to put a bunch of work into something that they're not guaranteed that's may or may not work for them. But I think that's business in general, right?
Right.
Like
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
don't know anything until you try it, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I think
But
that was just a key point. Yeah.
yeah, and another one, I know this is kind of like the first. Well, half of this one is kind of one of the first ones I know that you and I both ran. But like webinar and VSL funnels, right? VSL funnels, I
Yes.
know is where we definitely start. I coach people on
Mm-hmm.
how to set up and implement a VSL funnel. Webinar is essentially kind of the same thing. It's just a little bit of a different environment. But for those out there who don't know what a VSL, it's a video sales letter, and it'll help you sell your service through a short video on your process, right?
Mm-hmm.
A webinar does much of the same thing, but I think there's more value and not value, but like education as to why somebody's there. And it's
Yep.
again, it's really just a different environment
Right.
feel, one versus the other. But those can be like, the webinars can be live or pre-recorded. Most of them are pre-recorded.
Yep.
The live ones, I think, are very much probably hold more weight in terms of their value, because it really feels like once this thing is over, like I don't get any more, right?
Yep.
Whereas a pre-recorded one, it's just kind of like, it is what it is. You're just there for the information,
Yeah.
right? But tell me a little bit about your experience with VSL funnels, because I know that
Yeah.
you've ran a ton of them before.
Yeah, most definitely. Video, I've had, out of all the different like funnels and things that I've done over the years, I would say probably video sales letters funnels have been my most profitable.
Mm,
Just like in general compared to everything else that I've done. And the amount of time that I actually ran one. Um, it it literally just gives the person like all the information right off the bat.
right. Yeah.
Like trains them on your business, your process, gives them a call to action, and it gets them to want to buy. And
Yeah.
then as far as like webinars and stuff, I've never really run a pre-recorded webinar funnel, but I have done lives. So like I've done some live like
Sure.
workshops and stuff, and
Yeah.
like you run an ad or do some posts or whatever to get the contact information to register, and it worked. Like it works great. Like there is that personal connection. I would say still my VSL funnels have worked better over the
Yeah.
years because they can be on 24/7. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Versus like that 1 hour
Sure.
day that you promote.
I think also too, it's important for, in the distinction of the two, I think every business can use a VSL funnel,
Mm-hmm.
but I
Mm-hmm.
don't think every business can do a webinar,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
Like it's very much industry type and
Mm-hmm.
different things like that. Like for example, most service businesses out there, well, I won't say most, but many service businesses out there probably wouldn't benefit from like a webinar
Right. I
style funnel,
agree.
but a VSL, like they could use it all day long.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like we're talking about like home service companies, like a roofer, right?
Right.
They're not going to run a
Yeah.
webinar funnel. That would be
Right.
really silly, right? But they could all have a video sales letter that says who they are, what they do,
Yep.
what their process is, especially
Mm-hmm.
if their process is very unique to the way that they go about doing something. A VSL funnel can be everything that they need to literally ditch their website and generate the right kind of leads and the ones that are ready to kind of
Mm-hmm.
take that next action in what it is
Mm-hmm.
they do. And a third one that I wrote down here is something that is so basic. And then after I say this one, we'll reflect on like why I did these in the particular order that I did them in.
Yeah.
But the third one that I wrote down here was a testimonial funnel. Right.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
We've also commonly heard them referred to as kind of like case study funnel,
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Um, Case studies, testimonials are essentially the same thing, but 9 times out of 10, a case study is guided through
Right.
with usually yourself, and a testimonial is usually just your client speaking
Mm-hmm.
about their experience with you. But the utilization of those videos through testimonials or case studies, they're like the cherry on top of like getting somebody like right over that goal line. They're at the one. It's like, what do we need to do? Okay, we need to run a quarterback sneak, and then you put everybody inside of your
Right.
testimonial funnel, right?
Definitely.
I know that testimonials I think they hold their weight honestly in gold especially when you get some good ones,
Oh.
because I mean it's the story of how your client had success working with you. And I mean, I don't know about you. I could get up here and sit up here and say like, I'm so good at X. But if
Mm-hmm.
I had 15, 20, 30 other people sitting here and saying Evan's good at X, that's going to hold more than my one. Or I mean, those 30 are going to hold more than me getting up here 100 times and saying I'm good at whatever.
Right.
Right. How many I mean, not how many, but like, I mean, case studies are really important, or case studies and testimonials are really important. I mean, when somebody is done working with you, is that like the first thing that you do is like, hey, we sit down and have a
Yep.
conversation with me about this?
Yep, 100%. Right at the end, it's like, when can we set up or like typically we've already been doing a shoot, and I like kind of give them a heads up before, like, hey, I know we're coming to the end here, like we're doing
Yeah.
this last shoot. Would you mind giving me a quick, if they can't do it that day, we'll schedule another day. But yeah, it's such a key piece, like getting it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
stress
And
it
I
enough,
never,
people. If you're listening,
yeah,
get testimonials.
because so many, especially so many of the clients that I've worked with too, they're just all super gung ho about like their Google reviews. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And while I'm not going to sit here and say that your Google reviews aren't important, because they definitely help that platform and the way that they put you, in search and all of those things. But I mean, getting somebody to take a little bit of time out of their day to get
Mm-hmm.
on camera, which we all
Mm-hmm.
know it's not the easiest thing for everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
But to get on camera and sit here and give their testimonial and story behind working with you, I think that holds way more weight than 50 5-star reviews that are very much like just run of the mill
Yep.
language, or very
Yep.
short, or whatever. And plus you can put your video testimonials on your Google My
On.
Business page, so it's
Yep.
like, what are we doing out here, people?
Right.
But
Oh,
yeah,
for real.
testimonials are huge, because I love to be able to put those in packages for clients that I work with.
Yes.
And they're a main part of one of my core packages. So it's and I'll ask you this, because I have a certain way that I think about these, right? And I see a lot of people do them the exact opposite of the way that I would recommend that you do
Right.
them. You have like, hey, can you give me a testimonial? And then like somebody will pull their phone out, and then they'll just like a little selfie video of
Mm-hmm.
themselves or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I very much am of the opinion that you should actually put some money or effort into those videos, because like I said, if somebody's going to take their time out of their day to sit down and do a more highly produced rendition of something that they could take 3 seconds and pull
Yep.
their phone out and do whatever, I think it looks much better on behalf of the company that they have people out there willing to sacrifice their time in that
Yep.
manner versus the quick, like, oh, choose Evan because he's really cool and good at what he does. You know what I mean?
Right. Totally. Totally. I mean, I think as far as like a business goes, choosing, say you're a business and you got a bunch of different services, like choosing some of those clients that like really tell that story of that result in that specific service is great to like, it's key really to highlight that specific service. I won't diss the phone testimonials too, because I've even almost done like reactivation type things where like I'll send a quick video message to, I mean, a quick message to some past clients that I haven't been able to get on the calendar yet, as far as like doing a full on testimonial. I'm like, hey, look, can you just take 5 minutes, pull out your phone, non-scripted, don't worry about it, just give an experience of what it was like working together. I know we've been trying to get this on the books, but I'll edit it, don't worry about it. And like they come back and then I put it together and it looks good, you know what I mean? So like it's helpful, but it is so much better when you can actually tell that story and like dive deep into the true transformation that they experienced and like all that. It
Yeah.
it really is the
Yeah. For
number
me,
one
it's the
converting form
psychological
of
play.
content.
Yeah.
What's that?
For me,
Sorry.
it's the psychological play for sure.
Right.
Like on my end, like it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, if I can tell that somebody took as much time and effort into doing that, like that must mean that
Right.
that they enjoyed the process, or they really must have helped them, wholeheartedly. But the
Exactly.
reason that I kind of put those in the order that I did is because we talk about funnels, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they're shaped like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, the lead magnet funnel would be like somebody who's like super information gathering,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then we have a sales funnel, right?
Yep.
Which is where like, okay, what's the thing and how does it do? And then we have the testimonial funnel, which is going to really get somebody, like I said, over that goal line into
Yeah.
actually taking the next step into everything. So that's why I kind of laid them out the way that I did there, to,
Yeah.
how they touch on the different tiers. But I want to talk real quick while we wrap this episode up, but just kind of common pitfalls, mistakes that you either have done yourself
Mm-hmm.
or have seen in other funnels that maybe you've entered, or just out of curiosity or checking out or whatever it might have
Yeah.
been. I mean, the number one that I see, because I coach people on this a lot as well, is really the lack of of clear kind of strategy,
Mm.
and more than just strategy, it's more around like the language within the
Yes.
funnel, right?
Yep.
Where it's like you you're telling them that they're going to get this kind of secret that helps them do X, and then the call to action is kind of like, get this thing, which doesn't really correlate to,
Yeah.
like, it doesn't all, the stars don't align,
Mm-hmm.
if you will, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if you've experienced anything like that
Yeah.
with stuff that you've been a part of.
That was actually going to be one of the things I said was like more specifically for the language of like the like say headline or something along those lines, where people just tend to be very generic. I know I was for a little while, instead of like actually laying out like the transformation or like the actual like result that or pain point that you're like
Mhm.
helping overcome through that particular page.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too that I think some people, I haven't done this too much, but I've seen people try to do it a little too much, is asking for too much information in like the opt-in pages.
Okay.
Like some people will, you know, name, email, telephone number is good. Name, email, you're probably going to have a higher conversion because it's less to enter.
Right. Yeah.
But like some people want like your social handle and like all this other information, and it's like maybe that's good for like someone who's like way bought in already. But
Right.
any of those three that we just said, I wouldn't go like more
Yeah.
than name, email, telephone number.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, there is some validity to like, if you had like a qualifier question or something so that you
Sure.
can weed out the bad leads or something like that.
Sure.
Kind of just depending on what you're going for. But yeah, no, name and email. I know when I was a part of this one course, like that was all that they wanted you to
Mm-hmm.
to put in at the beginning because they wanted you to find the viability of
Right.
the magnet.
Right.
Right. And if people aren't even willing to give you their name and email, they're not going to give you their phone number. They're not going to give you any other
Exactly.
information. So that was
And
kind
it
of
just
a
ties
no, go
back to
ahead.
what you were saying with the strategy and like approaching it
Yeah.
with a strategy. Because,
Yeah.
if you're not thinking about that, then it's just like throwing stuff at the wall, hoping that it sticks.
Right. Right. No, wholeheartedly. My second point here that I wanted to mention was I kind of said it a little bit earlier in these like long drawn out sales pages, right? But like an overloading of information inside of these funnels, which is why I'm so heavy proponent of video, because you can have a lot of information in there, but it doesn't overwhelm you visually,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just one common thing that I've seen is that people try to make these long sales pages, and I'm just like, what are you guys doing?
Right. Oh yeah, for real. Yeah, you can put that same amount of information in like a 2-minute video, but like
Right.
and the thing is when you see those long ones, they start to repeat themselves too. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it'll go a certain way and then it'll like start repeating itself in a different way, and then it's too much. It's
Yeah,
way too
dude.
much.
Totally. And then something else that I also see that I have to fix a little bit with, the people that I work with a lot is, they really neglect the mobile optimization of things. Text size too. Like for even if we have a minimal amount of text, like you got to have that stuff big enough on these small screens
Yep.
because you never know who is going to see it, what their eyesight is like, anything like
Right.
that. And everybody edits these things in the desktop view and then doesn't ever really go over to the mobile view to like really pay attention to it. But that's one big thing that I've seen, because 57% of video viewership is done through our mobile devices.
Wow.
Right. So it's
that's
like,
actually lower than I would have thought it would have been. I would have thought it would have been more than that.
well, I mean, it's it's overall, and we're talking about sales funnels.
Oh,
Right.
yes, true. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about like video in general, social,
Yeah.
all that, yeah, I'm sure
Yeah.
that it's much higher.
Yep. In
But
funnels.
sales
Okay,
funnels, because I mean,
Yes.
how many times can you get caught up into a sales funnel because of an email?
Oh,
And that's
yeah.
done
Or through an
primarily
ad
at
on
your
socials.
desktop.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, just neglecting the mobile optimization of things is another, common thing that I see with people. And loading speed is another one, right? Like it's like you got to make this thing be able to load fast because if they don't, they're leaving
Right.
like as quickly as they clicked on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of the three most common things that I kind of have noticed with people in their different sales funnels. Because I know every time I see a new ad on Facebook that comes across my feed, especially if I know that they're like a local service, I go poke around their funnel. Right? Like, what does it
Yep.
look like? What are they doing? What language are they using?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's an off chance that I might be able to help them fix something, right?
100%.
And I just never know if I need to use it as leveraged ammo to be able to reach out to them. I'm sure they get a million of those, DMs or messages or whatever all the time, but without actionable like knowledge and
Right.
things behind it, it's kind of just like,
Right. Exactly. Oh, I'm always looking at local because that's the thing that like business owners tend to just think that the website is the way to drive. And so like when for me anyway, in my local area, when I see a local business running a funnel, I'm like, okay, they're taking steps, but like, are they doing it right? Or are they just trying to do it because they hear a podcast like this that says funnels and they're trying to do it? You know what I mean? So
No, totally, man. Well, that kind of brings us to the end of this episode. And Graham, I really appreciate you coming on and joining me today and talking about something that I know me and you have been doing for what 4 or 5 years now, kind of simultaneously together, and learning and growing and being able to help the customers and clients that we work with. But today wasn't an easy one, because I know that I make these kind of videos because we have to educate people on why they should look at different things, right? And like you just said, like the website, even though it still is a digital age media asset, it's one of the more archaic ways of using an intentional tool to generate a lead. Whereas if we were talking 10, 15 years ago, we would have said it's the only way to go do that digitally. But yeah, man, I appreciate you being on. If you want to let people know that can utilize your service, where they can find you and get in touch with you.
Yeah, I mean, best place to find me is through social media, at Valued Productions. So VALUD Productions, and I'm super, man. I could talk about this stuff all day. I think that's the biggest thing that I would like people to take away from today's is that, like, website, yeah, it's a good digital footprint, but if you actually want to, like, start getting people to actually take that action, a funnel is so key, especially a video funnel. And I'm sure that you can help get everybody set up with all that. So appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, dude, not a problem. I'll make sure that I include all of your stuff in the notes and the description down below in this video. But thank you guys again. If you're new here, go subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you get caught up with all of the latest episodes, snippets, clips, and everything that's going to come out of this podcast. And if you are in the Houston or surrounding areas, you can find more information on how to get in touch with me. And if you're in the Maine and northeastern area of the country, there is information down there below as well to get in touch with Graham. But until next time, you guys, this has been the Video Marketers Vault podcast, and we'll see you on the next episode.